Alright everybody, I'm Kayla. This was not the video I had planned for this week, but I really liked how this turned out and I didn't want to wait. It was supposed to be out yesterday, but then I got sick. I didn't really have anything interesting to say about the photo study that I was going to originally do. I mean, I still did it, but I'm not doing the speed paint of it. It's on my Instagram and linked below if you want to check it out, but I'm not going to post the speed paint even though I recorded it, just because I don't have anything to talk about. The only reason this one even exists is because Facebook likes to remind me of art that I forgot about. I remember being really proud of this original one 5 years ago. I still use the basic curve tool and paint tool side because I was not remotely thinking about any sort of line quality. Not that I'm really the best at it now, but at least I try. I did know to flip the canvas back and forth back then to check to see if it's weird. Though apparently it seems that I forgot to flip it back because her bones are on the wrong side. I did fix that in the new one. If that's not an endorsement of references, I don't know what is. In the basic layout of the pose, I had her kneeling, the camera more above her. However, I scrapped that, and then I also got rid of the graveyards I briefly had in the background. I wish I could have kept the camera angle though, but the more I refined things, the more I sort of lost it. I also made sure Emily's arms are more bent in the new one to give a better sense of movement. Even now, I like how the hair draped over her in the first one, so I was glad I was able to keep that and make it a little bit more flowy in the new one. Though honestly, I didn't really change much on how I usually do hair, and I could have spent more time on it. I like how the veil turned out, but it takes a few iterations to get there. And I really like the rips in the clothes. They turned out well, especially you'll see some little extra fibers at the end. I hate line art. It's the worst, but I don't think I did too bad on it. I really liked how I curved the eyeball upwards. I don't know. I think it better gives the fact that she's looking up. I also didn't do as much detail on the tears as I used to do because I just felt like it always got lost and you didn't really see much of a difference because all of my pictures are from so far away. I had so many problems trying to get this top right. It just looked so awkward and did not fit her correctly. So you can see so many variations and different things I've tried to just get it to match up. I didn't want it to be too low cut, but I didn't want it to be way up above, and it still had to be ripped further than where it was supposed to be. Eventually though, I got it to a point where I was happy with it, even if it doesn't shine until later on. I think my line art actually turned out pretty crisp. I have a problem with making rather messy line art. You can see that in some of the details around her arm hole thing. The line art on the hair is pretty standard as well. I didn't do anything fancy. Though it did take quite a bit of cleaning up because I don't usually work as neat as I should. Her flower crown, which you'll see here in a second, is super sloppy, but it does the job. It doesn't look bad, and it's not a main focus, so I don't really feel bad. I'm not spending the most time on it, so I don't get burnt out. I did decide to go back and do her veil and the background before I colored in the rest of Emily, just because I have a tendency of getting really tired at the end of my projects, and then you can tell in some of the smaller details that I didn't really want to keep doing this, because I tend to do all of my drawings in one session. I don't really like to split it up. I know it's really bad for your back and everything, but that's how I work. I did blur it a little bit, but I wanted to still make it look like there is a background. But I still think by the time that I add all the extra effects, it ends up going away. But it's there. I did it. I did not leave out the background like I usually do. Also, you can see me using a bright pink just so you can see where I'm putting down the color, because I have a hard time when it's two dark colors next to each other, seeing the difference. I didn't really use that anywhere else because I didn't really need it to be much brighter than anything else because they're already bright colors. It's a light blue for the skin and then pale grays and yellows for the dress and the gloves and her bones. I did finagle around with the colors a little bit because they weren't quite what I wanted them to be. They looked a little too poppy. And then I did her lips, which I had to change because her lips are more of a pink, but I like doing like darker blue lips on blue skin. So I did that before I went back and changed it. And you can see me color in a little bit of the line art because I feel like it just helps the color seep in. And my favorite part about blue skin is doing the shading because you can do all sorts of purples and greens, and it's just, there's so much mixing you can do that I feel like kind of you can't get away with normal colored skin. Like, I could use some blue in a like tan colored person's skin, but it's not gonna like fit as well. Like, all these are like right beside each other, which is like, I don't know, I just love it. It's fun. You can see me mess around with the dress some more because that top is a nightmare. I also had problems making the shading not be too muddy on the dress. Like, I wanted it to be smooth, but I still needed to get the texture that, like, it's not just the same texture as the skin. So you can see me do several layers trying to get that right, and different versions of how much I wanted things to be blended or not blended. And I did some highlights. I try not to do too much of the highlights because then I get carried away. You can see the start of where I tried out the lace for the first time. I was originally going to do something a little bit more movie accurate to see how it's like molded and like falling apart, but eventually I went back and just kind of messed around and made up my own design. I thought that maybe it might like not be possible to make something out of lace like this, but then I watched a bunch of videos and I think actually you could make a lace dress that is very similar, if not the same, as the one that I designed here. Not that I think anyone should, there's still some mistakes and everything. But overall, I love drawing lace, as you can see by the abundance of it all over my channel. It's just everywhere, on the intro, the outro, the little borders, everything. It's fun. I may or may not post some of the like little samples I did of some like lace like necklaces designs that I tried out. Not that I'm gonna make any lace because that seems like so much work. It's so tedious, like needlework, bobbin lace, any of it. It just seems like I sew, but that's a whole nother ball game. And you can see all the tiny, tiny little dots for the netting, whatever you want to call it. It took not as long as you would think. I've certainly done way more tiny little circles for textures on things before. There's probably much simpler ways to go about it, but I do love the effect that this gives off, and especially later when I add some more of the like sparkles and shine and the dirt. It just, I don't know, it makes it shines. Love it. I had a lot of fun with this. You can see why I wanted to post this so early, you know, because I'm excited, and then sometimes we all just need to be excited about stupid lace on a picture. It's fine. Have fun. I did add a little bit of a drop shadow to the lace, but I don't think it comes through in the final drawing. After I finished that, I did the first pass on the dirt layers, because I did a few and then added some like yellow layers to give it some more age, and then I did a bunch more shadow layers because I still didn't have it the way I wanted, and I got rid of some, added new ones. Then I started on the hair, which I did also do pretty simply. You can see a running theme in a lot of things I did. Like, I either spent way too much time on it, or I'm like, yeah, we'll do the bare minimum. It looks fine. And I actually really like how the hair turned out, even though I started out doing it much simpler than I usually would have. I think a lot of it has to do with the textures in the brushes that I found. I don't know whose they are. You could probably look up just any Photoshop brushes, figure out the ones that you like. I also use the dissolve layer effect to do some rough sparkles before I go back in and do more controlled ones. I did copy paste the pearls, but I think where I had them like falling off, it did offset that a little bit, so it looks a bit more natural. I should have, you know, spent more time on each one individually. And then I added some extra highlights and some more like, I don't know, atmospheric sparkles. They're like, you know, it's caught in the air. And then I did some more work on the veil, which is still not at like its final finished version. I did actually draw real snowflakes this time instead of just doing little like blobs, and I tried to make them look more like they were swirling around her because it's a dramatic moment. Or it's supposed to be. It's not really like from the movie or anything. I think I did the original sketch in class one day because I was bored. Alright, since that's about it, thank you all for listening. Goodbye.